So, my name is Nigel Lineker, and I'd like to talk with you a little bit about coaching on the basis that you might have some interest in it and potentially in being coached. And if this becomes an interesting conversation, it can lead to another one, even a real one, even face to face. But let's start with some questions. When you think about coaching, what comes to mind? What comes up for you? What do you imagine? And in a moment, we'll come to a different question, which is if you had some coaching and it went really well, what would you like to be different? So start with the coaching first of all. When I coach, it's always one-to-one. It's always completely private. And it's always about the coachee, that's the client's agenda. It's always relaxed. I hope there's never any sense of judgment. It's always encouraging, but I'm not bringing my answers for your life. I may be helping you to discover your answers for whatever the challenge is in front of you, whether it's a professional issue, a personal issue, and these often blur, of course, whatever it might be. It's about enabling the answers to come from you discovering your answers. So let's start with a simple enough question. What would you like to be different? When you think about, say, one particular issue or area or aspect of your life now, see how it is at the moment, and then ask yourself that question, what would you like to be different? And notice, if you will, what starts to come to mind. I'd like it to be like this. I'd like it to be like that. I'd like to whatever. Hold that answer. And then let me ask you another question, which is, what will that look like when you're there, when it's real? And maybe now you can begin to notice some sense of, even already some sense of, what that might be when you've got there. Oh, you can always pause this, but let me continue right now. Pause if you need more time at any point. When you've got a sense of what that looks like, why is that important to you? Why is that important to you? And if you like, what difference will that make to you? Now, an answer here might be along the lines of, well, then I'll sense this, or I'll know that, or I'll feel that. So what have we done so far? I've asked some questions, some really simple ones. What would you like to be different? What will that look like? Why is that important to you? And if you like, what difference will that make? And you may have started to explore some answers. Gosh, we're already coaching. We could explore further. What has to happen for that to happen? What would some first steps look like? What obstacles are you imagining along the path? And what can we do about them? I could start exploring your language when you're using the word would or could, when you're using should, when must, when can't, when try. These little words that say something about the relationship of our ideas to what we're describing, to ourselves, our path and ourselves. So these key little words worth exploring. So we've almost already started coaching. I want to provide a little bit more context. Usually, I meet and mix of that and phone-based or Skype-based conversations, a handful, half a dozen, 7 or 8, depends. Separate conversations. We may start with me understanding more about you and how you are and who you are, or perhaps more accurately, who you sense yourself to be. Start exploring that. That'll be easy and I hope interesting for you, certainly interesting for me. And getting some clarity on the objectives too, that, as we mentioned earlier, you'd like to be different. You might have a handful of things you want to be different. We can bring them all in. Well, what's happening while you are talking about that and I'm listening and I'm thinking is I'm starting to explore, well, what's behind that? What's going on here? Take an example. Someone comes to me and says, Nigel, I've got a challenge on stress. This is just an example. Might have nothing to do with you. Got into your own stress. And I might start exploring, well, what's going on in your life, and it might become clear that this person is working all hours. Okay, and sometimes stressfully. What's that about? That could be about lack of delegation. That could be about lack of trust in others. And that could reflect a lack of trust in oneself. So we get second session, third session, so on through into what I call the causal level, the kind of where it's really going on. And that's where we then do our work. If the issues, and that was just an example around trusting yourself, we'll really get into that. What is that about? When have you really trusted yourself? When did that feel really good? What enabled you to do that? What were you saying to yourself when you're really trusting yourself? We can look at other obvious areas, like when you've performed really well, what's been happening? When you haven't performed so well, what's been going on for you? We can identify what the performance parameters are, what the causes are, what's happening within you. You can get clearer about all these things so you understand more of what makes you tick. You might think this is strange. You've been, 20, 30, 40 years of being you. But maybe not becoming really aware of what's happening for you. So once you're more aware of your physiology, more aware of your inner voice, more aware of your holdbacks, more aware of all those things that have been getting in the way of you, you can go to work on them. On your own or with a coach, you can get into connecting with them, exploring them. So first, and there's a little bit of my philosophy here coming through to you, an awareness, my methodology, an awareness of where you are, of where it's great and where it's not yet as great as you want it to be. An acceptance of that, an owning up to it, a connection with it, a forgiving yourself for not already being perfect. And now building, putting in place what needs to be there to get to another level. We talk in our work about awareness, connection, transformation, ACT, or the act, whether it's the act of leading or being or working. Crucial for us. So we're working on awareness, we're working on connecting with who you've been, with forgiving that where that's appropriate, accepting it anyway, and with connecting with your potential as well. This amazing, incredible human being that you may already sense yourself to be, and yet can become rather more. And then coming into a level of transformation, a level of something more powerful and glorious and incredible. Well, you might think that's a tall order for a coaching program, yet real shifts can happen. They do happen. And for us, this is all part of a journey towards a greater authenticity, of you realizing more of your potential, of your giving more of that to the world in a more real and profound way. This is a great journey. It's an exciting journey. And if you feel it's appropriate, I look forward to speaking with you about that. Thank you.